Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Nicholas Lionrider, and today I will be going over all of the amazing news that's come out for both Planet Zoo and Prehistoric Kingdom in the last day. And this news is going to basically carry us through probably until the end of March. And so without further ado, let's get started. So the big news that I'm sure a lot of people are already covering and a lot of people are already excited about is Prehistoric Kingdom finally has an alpha release date. So for those who have been wanting to hear more news about Prehistoric Kingdom, see the gameplay, play it for yourself if you have the chance, that release date will be March 19th. So if anyone wants to, they can go on the Prehistoric Kingdom website or Critivo, and I believe it's about $89 if you want to purchase the alpha and you weren't already a Kickstarter backer or a content creator. But that is the date to shoot for, so March 19th. Now, what's going to be in the PK Alpha? So a lot of people have already covered this. I don't want to give you the long, me reading the entire devlog thing or whatever, but I broke it down into a few things. So the big thing is there's 6 dinosaurs. So if you're expecting the 22 dinosaurs that, they have been showing off, or any of the mammals like the mammoth or the woolly rhino, those are not going to be in this specific alpha. But the dinosaurs you are going to get are the Tyrannosaurus, of course, classic, Edmontosaurus, Lambeosaurus, Styracosaurus, Nasutoceratops, and the Microraptor, which is one of the exhibit-style animals. And all of these dinosaurs are going to have all their alt skins and species. You're going to have basic functionality, stuff that you're expecting. Oh, you're gonna, like, I love how they had saving and loading as a feature of the game, but that is important. So you're gonna have your basic path placement, your building tools. You're gonna have 250 props. So if you're expecting a few thousand or anything, kind of like Planet Zoo, again, dial your expectations a bit. This is a very small, contained alpha, and so 6 dinosaurs, a few hundred props. You're going to have basic economy functionality. They have stated that basically the alpha is going to be somewhere between a hybrid of the sandbox and the, campaign career style mode, where you're going to have a functional economy. So very basic economy functionality for that. And then from there, you're going to be able to kind of focus on the fun thing, which is the building aspect of the game, which I will say building in PK keeps getting me more and more excited for that aspect of the game. Again, I'm not a huge dinosaur person myself, but the building aspect, it is beautiful. Which brings me to my next point, which is actually a tweet from another fellow content creator, Simply Savannah. She basically tweeted, or actually mentioned in one of her videos covering the news, about asking about rotating textures and stretching stuff, and the Prehistoric Kingdom developers actually responded on Twitter, and they said, to answer your question about rotating textures, yes, every piece in the game can be rotated and stretched using the advanced editing tools, even items that use the grid by default, and you can choose to enable or disable the building grid at any time, which immediately I was like, oh my god, that sounds awesome. And so I asked the follow-up question, which was super specific nerdy question, but does that mean that we could do real-time UV modification? And for those who don't know what UV modification is, basically it would be the way the textures are projected on a texture map, if we could modify that so that we could physically stretch it and stuff. Which unfortunately they responded, no, we don't have anything like that. Though they did say it would be a cool avenue in the future, which if they pulled that off, that would literally be next level. They'd be literally handing you a game dev tool in that case, which would be amazing. But obviously that's not going to be a thing. But we also got some clarity on the scaling, because I know a lot of people like to, kind of exaggerate what the scaling was and stuff, and we got some kind of further details through this tweet. So they specified that items like mulch and some other objects, I'm sure bark and stuff like that, are going to be using world space materials, so it's going to eliminate that stretching quality. Same with rocks and stuff of that nature. So the reason why the rocks and stuff don't seem to stretch the texture quality is because they use world space materials. However, they do have limits on all pieces in the game. So even though a lot of people have been like, oh, you can just stretch it to your heart's content, you can make any object as big or as small. No, there are going to be a minimum and maximum scale control setting with each piece in the game to alleviate stress on stretching. So not all pieces in the game are going to have that kind of dynamic stretching ability with the textures, and to alleviate that and make it seem sort of presentable, each one is going to have a minimum and a maximum you can stretch it to. Which, stretching in general is always awesome. But obviously, you have to take into consideration you never want to have just full-on stretching capability, or else it's going to look really ugly in the final product. And so they do specify, that having most textures stretched in the scale is a player-driven choice, but at the end of the day, they wanted to be like, okay, at a certain level, it's just unacceptable to have that. And so they're going to let you pretty much decide that. And I'm sure if people really are upset with a given, texture minimum or objects minimum and maximum scale size, I'm sure modding could change that. And I'm sure even like the developers would probably listen if, oh my God, I want like really tall trees. Why can the tree only go up this high or something? I'm sure they would be able to change that for us. But regardless, I think that's an awesome kind of middle ground to, get that creative freedom with scaling while also being practical with it and not making it so that you can just make something that is just really ugly at the end of the day and would kind of like almost diminish the quality of the game that they've built. But regardless, I think that's awesome. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is what this is going to mean for content creators, because this kind of bleeds into my next topic, which of course is Planet Zoo. So what's new with Planet Zoo? So Planet Zoo is, if we look on the Steam database, looks like we're going to get another DLC. What a shock. I know, I couldn't believe it either. Another DLC, 3 to 4 months after the last one. But yes, so there is a new Steam database update for a new Planet Zoo DLC. I know on the forum, Shantae has said that what they are working on, we will likely be showing off in March. And so what I find funny about this is if we look at past DLCs, if we look at like the South America DLC, which was released last April, but announced at the end of March, we can use that as a good time frame to estimate when we could be seeing this next DLC officially announced and later released. And so if we assume it's roughly the same time frame of around the end of March, that really does coincide with that kind of March 19th PK alpha release date, which is what I found really interesting, because a lot of content creators, myself included, are basically going to have to choose sides here. I really find it hard that if this happens frequently, a lot of people are going to want to be covering, Prehistoric Kingdom, obviously. Like, this is a big deal for the community, and it's what people are excited about. But Planet Zoo is then come in and like, no, we're not out here yet. We also have a new DLC we want to cover. And so what I'm interested in is if other content creators and stuff, whose side they're going to choose. Because I feel like you're going to be doing a disservice if you're just kind of like half covering both. Like if you're like, oh yeah, there's a new DLC out for Planet Zoo, and then you do like a one video like, oh yeah, look, it's a sun bear habitat, which we'll get to that in a minute. But at the same time, it'd also be a disservice if you're just like, oh yeah, PK, look, here's the alpha, bye. And so I think you're really going to have to see, you're going to see a lot of creators either choosing to be a predominantly Prehistoric Kingdom channel or a predominantly Planet Zoo channel at the end of March, early April. And so I'm really interested in seeing how that goes, because that is going to be a pretty big thing if you're a viewer of any content creators out there, because this is going to be a thing that impacts the content you watch. You are going to see some people that you came for Planet Zoo just exclusively covering Prehistoric Kingdom from now on. A good example that I can think of is Best in Slot, when Planet Zoo kind of, or even the Gaming Beaver, they are both Jurassic World Evolution channels and Jurassic World channels in general. And so they covered Planet Zoo for a while, but, over time, as more dinosaur-related games like PK and the potential of JWE 2 on the horizon now came out, they stopped making as much Planet Zoo content. And I could definitely see that happening with a lot of other content creators. So just be warned, that is probably going to be happening. I still haven't even decided what my channel is going to be yet, but I do still intend on definitely covering Planet Zoo predominantly. But I guess we can just kind of cover what the likely DLC is. So this is probably a thing I could cover in its own video, but I feel like we kind of got any speculation kind of thrown out the door for what the next DLC is going to be for Planet Zoo, because we're all 99% sure it's an Asia DLC of some kind. Simply because that leak that came out, maybe, it was either November or December, but the one that released the names of the giant otter, the king penguin, and the gray seal, also had the sun bear in that thing. And the sun bear wasn't completed yet, which made it seem to indicate that it is, you know, further down the line in development. And so what would be further down the line? The next DLC, which is, you know, presumably now this late March, early April timeframe. So it is likely that it is an Asia DLC. However, I am hoping it is not. I am hoping that this next DLC is going to be an endangered species pack or a crapshoot pack. And a lot of people are wondering what a crapshoot pack is. It's any pack that just has random animals with no theme, because that is usually the best way to go. Now, and I'll have a video explaining why that is further down the line. I'll probably cover this all in its own category. However, I will say that the likelihood of Asia is for a few reasons, and that, it weirdly enough, comes down to what the other DLCs are, and that is, we're probably going to get an Africa DLC later down the line, and we're probably going to get a North America DLC down the line, simply because those areas are missing major animals like African rhinos. You could even argue California sea lion at this point is missing and could fit well in North America. Moose is a big animal that I'm sure a lot of people would want. Stuff like that is just missing from the game right now. And so Asia, Africa, North America, basically just revisiting the existing continents, pretty likely idea in my head. And so I am hoping that this DLC breaks the rule of 4 animal, 1 mini exhibit animal, but I'm still I'm being a bit more optimistic but cautious with what I think it's going to be. I don't think we're going to get anything crazy in this DLC. I think it's going to be a very standard 4 animal pack, nothing crazy. The next DLC might be the one where they try to up their game a bit. But that basically covers everything that I wanted to cover for both Planet Zoo and Prehistoric Kingdom. But like I said, I'm really interested in this content creator situation, because we're going to be seeing an awful lot of Planet Zoo and PK content. And so, without further ado, thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. So bye, guys!